Our last topic for the week is abbreviations, acronyms, and initialisms. An abbreviation is a shortened version of multiple words, often in the forms below. So the two forms below are an acronym and an initialism. An acronym is a word that is pronounced as a whole word, even though it's comprised of letters from multiple other words. So the acronym SCUBA is a very good example. We say the word scuba. We don't say SCUBA. We say SCUBA, even though SCUBA stands for self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Similarly, we have an initialism. These are just an abbreviation, or this is just an abbreviation that is pronounced as letters, like the NFL or the NBA. We just say each of the letters out loud, and we don't form them into a single word. Now, in technical writing, almost everybody refers to all of these as just acronyms. People just refer to an acronym as anything that is made up as the first letter from multiple other words. That's how it is used 99% of the time in technical writing. So I'll just be referring to these as acronyms because that is how virtually everybody else will when you are out in the workforce. Even though I do want you to know that there is a technical difference between abbreviations, acronyms, and initialisms. Okay, so here's an example. The scientist spoke with several non-governmental organizations, NGOs. So in our report, in our document, whatever we're writing, we would first write the whole 3 words that we're turning into an acronym, and we would capitalize the first letter of each word, and then we would just write out those 3 letters in parentheses. Be careful not to strain your temporomandibular joint, TMJ. This would be a very common thing you might read in some sort of a medical journal or some sort of a technical document which is describing how to look after your body. Regarding acronyms, there are some rules you should follow to keep your writing as concise and readable as possible. First of all, you just want to define your acronym once. Once you've defined your acronym, you can use your acronym throughout the document and you don't need to ever use the 3 or 4 words that made up that acronym again. And in fact, it's better to not use those full words again because once you've had the reader go to the effort to learn an acronym, which is what you often need to do as a reader of these documents, you need to retain in your memory some of the acronyms you might not have heard before. So the more acronyms there are, the harder it is for your reader to come and get the information that they actually want, not have to waste brain energy on remembering a whole long list of acronyms. So do not define acronyms that are never used again. And in fact, if you only have to say the 3 words in your report a couple of times, it's better not to define an acronym at all. So for example, your temporomandibular joint, TMJ, if you only use that word twice in your report, just write out the whole word, and then a person doesn't need to remember TMJ. So if that word was first defined in an executive summary or abstract, which are meant to be standalone documents, you can redefine them. That's okay because sometimes a reader will only read one or the other. But generally, we want to make these documents concise by providing an acronym so that a reader doesn't have to read either a wordy or difficult or sort of a tough to pronounce word that they don't want to have to read or write or say again throughout your document. You can use an acronym. And the last topic in abbreviations is Latin abbreviations, which are often used in technical writing. So we have a few examples here, ETC, etc. So that means there are a number of other examples which you probably don't need to list because it's unnecessary. IE, which means id est, which is to say, which is to give a further explanation of something you have just said. EG is for example. This means you are probably about to list a number of examples of evidence supporting some fact you've just mentioned or listing some type of information that is an exemplar of the point you were trying to make. Next is CF, confer or compare to. This is often used to contrast to something else which should be similar or to show that something else is similar. So you're comparing to some other fact or theory or idea or something else that's relevant to what you're writing about. The next one is in situ or in place. Sometimes these are italicized, sometimes not. These are some very common Latin abbreviations that you'll come across in technical writing. And I guess I have a few suggestions on these. I don't think these are hard, fast rules, but use only when necessary and understandable to your audience. So most people can use ETC, IE, EG. Most people will understand what that means. When you start to put in too many Latin abbreviations, a lot of people won't actually know what that means and they won't go to the trouble of looking it up. So you're actually losing your audience. And in some cases, it could come across as sort of elitist writing. So keep it simple. If there is a good Latin term that is correct and that most people will understand, go ahead and use it, but you have to be cautious with overusing these things. A good way to learn these is whenever you're reading any sort of technical writing, you come across a lot of these Latin abbreviations. Take the time to look it up, and over time you'll get to know them and they'll just become part of your vocabulary. It's really important as a good technical communicator to have a good vocabulary and to be able to use these words without having to think about what they mean as you're speaking. So, e.g., for example, i.e., id est, which is to say. These are often confused, and it's through a lot of reading and a lot of using these in your writing and being very careful about it that you will get to be proficient with these. So we'll provide some examples in the practice quiz, and then we'll have a little test. So please go and practice some of these. Make sure that you have all of the things we talked about well in hand by doing the practice quiz, and then go on to write the test. And we'll see you next week.